Welcome back. Today, we're going to recreate the Pac-Man game on Scratch. The objectives of our game are to create a maze, create a game over screen, create some Pac-Man costumes, create a ghost sprite, create dot sprite, Pac-Man movement, Pac-Man animation, design walls, change score, hide dots, create ghost paths, Pac-Man touching ghost scenario, game over scenario, reset our maze, and finally add more dots. That's a lot, so take your time to understand and work through it. To make our maze, hover over the Choose a Backdrop icon on the bottom right and click on the Paint icon. This will allow you to customize your background. I chose a black background. Choose the Rectangle tool and drag it over the entire workspace. With the help of Fill, alter the color as you wish. Create a maze using the Line tool. Draw the lines however you'd like. Make sure the openings aren't too small, and that the lines are clearly visible. Now, let us design our game over backdrop. To do that, we hover over to our backdrop section, select Paint like before and add our text over it. You can have a backdrop like I did if you'd like, or you can leave it blank as well. Let us design our Pac-Man now. Hover over the sprite icon, select Paint and the circle icon to draw a small yellow circle that fits through our openings in the maze. Duplicate it. Edit the duplicated circle with the help of an eraser to cut out the Pac-Man's mouth. Then duplicate your second costume and use the eraser again to give your Pac-Man a larger mouth. You can alter the size of your eraser as well, so you can try doing that. Or if you'd like, you can upload different costume images of Pac-Man as your sprite. Make sure your Pac-Man is centered. Let's go ahead and create our ghost sprite. To do so, hover over the Choose a Sprite icon on the bottom right and click on the Paint icon. Choose the Brush tool, choose a color for your ghost, and draw it. I instead chose to upload my ghost sprite from my computer to make it easier. To do that, hover over Choose a Sprite and select Upload. Alter the sprite size so that it can pass in between walls. Then center it. Let's go ahead and create our dot sprite. To do so, hover over the Choose a Sprite icon on the bottom right and click on the Paint icon. Choose the circle or the rectangle tool, choose a color for your dot, and draw it. You can use my dot sprite as your inspiration. Make sure to increase the thickness of the outline so that it's more visible. Now let's have our Pac-Man move around our maze. To do that with the help of our arrow keys. Make sure you're in the Pac-Man code because our Pac-Man is the one we move. To do this, grab when green flag clicked from Events and grab, if then from Control. And use key pressed. From sensing to detect which key is being pressed. Grab point and direction from motion and change it to the value in which you want the Pac-Man to move according to the arrow that is being clicked on. Then grab move 10 steps from motion and change it to 5. Snap all the blocks together. To have our Pac-Man animated, grab forever from events. Grab 3 switch costume to costume from looks. Make sure the costume value is different for each block. Grab 3-inch wait 1 seconds. From control change the value to 0.2 for all. This will have our Pac-Man looking differently every 0.2 seconds. We know that in our Pac-Man game, Pac-Man doesn't go through walls, they go around them. To do this, we use a certain sensing block. Try and guess what that is before looking at the answer here. If you guessed the touching color block, you would be right. We just pick the color of our walls and then get move -5 steps from motion to have our Pac-Man stay where it is. Because we previously had it move 5 steps every time an arrow was pressed, so by having it move -5 steps when there's a wall, we would not move at all. You can use the color picker to make it easier to find the exact color of the walls. In order to have our score vary according to the dots being eaten, we go to the Variables category and click on Make a Variable to create a variable named Score. Once we have created the variable, grab a Start from Events and If Then from Control. To check if our Pac-Man is touching a dot, we use the touching color block from Sensing and alter the color to the color of the walls. Let's add a sound to make it more fun. Pick Start Sound from Sounds and add a sound you like. I chose Chomp to make it sound like it's being eaten. To change the score now, drag Change my variable by 1 from Variables and from the drop-down alter my variable to Score. Once the dots have been eaten, there's no reason for them to be in the maze, so we hide them. To do this, we navigate to the dots code by clicking on the dot and grab a Start from Events. Add Show from Looks. Then we drag Forever and If Then from Control. Now for the if condition, we have to check if the dots have been touched by Pac-Man. So we drag Touching Mouse Pointer from Sensing and pick our Pac-Man from the drop-down. Within this statement is where we add our hide block. Run this and check if it works. Now, we need to design the path for our ghosts. If you've played Pac-Man, you know a ghost usually has a specific path that it usually moves around. To replicate it, navigate to the ghost's code and grab a start. Then grab forever from control. To make a specific path for our ghost, move the ghost to a point you want the ghost to start moving from and then go to XY for motion. This sets your position correctly, otherwise you'd have to write down the numbers manually, and that's a lot harder. Now to have it to move, drag your ghost to the end of a wall before a turn and then glide 1 second to XY for motion. Do this repeatedly, move your ghost to a wall, grab the glide block and so on. Repeat this until the ghost returns back to its original position. It's going to be a lot of blocks, but you can do it. You can repeat this for another ghost if you would like. I just kept it simple here. In the case that our Pac-Man touches a ghost, it should lose one of its 3 lives. To do this, we grab a start block, a forever block and an if-then block. And then to test if our Pac-Man is touching a ghost, we drag the sensing block, touching mouse pointer, and select our ghost from the drop-down. Let's add a sound when they touch. Grab a good sound from the sound library that's different from the ones we've chosen so far, and drag Start Sound from Sounds. To have our Pac-Man return to the start after it touches the ghost, we go to XY for motion. Drag your Pac-Man to the place where you want it to return to and then grab the block for motion. It will have the right X and Y values then. To keep track of our lives, go to the Variables category and make a variable called Lives, then change my variable by 1 and select Lives from the drop-down. And since the lives go down by 1 when our Pac-Man touches a ghost, we change the value from 1 to -1. To code our game over scenario, click on the maze backdrops code. Grab a start, grab a forever block and an if-then block. Now for the if statement, we only call for a game over scenario if our lives are 0, so we get the equal to operator from operators and drag our variable lives into it so that it checks for our condition of lives equals 0. Then drag switch backdrop to from looks. And pick the game over backdrop we designed in the beginning. When our game is over, we want all our sprites to disappear. To make this happen, we grab hide from looks and stop all from control such that we have an if-then loop with an if statement checking if our game is over, i.e. lives equals 0, and add our hide and stop all blocks in it. To reset our maze, make sure you're in the Pac-Man's code. We first have to switch back to our maze backdrop. We do this by grabbing a start and switch backdrop tube from looks and changing the backdrop to the maze. Grab Shog from looks. Since we want Pac-Man to return to its starting position, grab the go to XY for motion like we did when we were setting up Pac-Man touching ghosts. Then grab set my variable to 0 from variables and alter my variable to lives and the value from 0 to 3. Now we have to set our score to 0 to restart, so grave another set my variable to 0 and alter my variable to score. Duplicate it for all your sprites except dots. Check the starting positions of your sprites when you duplicate the blocks into them. Make sure they match the previous starting positions in each sprite. Duplicate the dots 10 or 15 times and scatter them all through the maze. That's all. Now you have your own Pac-Man game that you built from scratch. I am so proud of you. That's all we have for now. I'll see you soon.